My mother-in-law thought I was poor until I bought her dream house. I, at 28 years old, married my boyfriend last year. My boyfriend and I dated for 2 years until we decided that we wanted to settle down and get married. I didn't meet his parents until we had been dating for a year, and instantly, I knew that his mother didn't approve of our relationship. His father, on the other hand, approved of me because he saw how well I treated his son. I tried to get to know his mother by helping her whenever she was carrying things or fixing different things around the house. His mother would always try to push me away, and I guess I thought she was just playing hard to get. I didn't think much of it and wanted to prove to her that I wanted to be with her son. I own a real estate investment company. It's what I do for a living, and it has allowed me to work fewer hours and spend time with my husband. My husband works as a lawyer and works more hours than I do, more than I can even imagine myself working, but it's part of his job and he still loves it. Both my mother-in-law and father-in-law know what I do for a living, but I don't think they understand the scale of my job. To my mother-in-law, she thinks that I'm just a real estate agent who can't get any sales because I work less, and she sees me all the time, trying to bond with her. Recently, I got her to talk to me about houses because we were talking about my job. She mentioned this house that she calls her dream house, and mentioned how she tried buying it once, but couldn't because it was too expensive. I recognized the street and the house she was referring to because it was part of the houses that I had developed a couple of years ago. During the conversation, she asked me how I was going to support her son. She told me that she sees me more than her son and asked if I'm even working. I told her that I'm doing well with my job, and that I can definitely prove that I can support her son. She looked at me and told me that she was just going to be honest, and told me that she believes I should let her son go. She told me that I was a good woman, but I just wasn't the best fit for her son. I just imagine my son dating someone else, she said. I looked at her and said, like who? That's when I found out that she had a friend who owned a clothing store that had a daughter, and I guess they both made a promise to try to play matchmaker, and her husband approved of it because that meant their son would get married and join the business. My heart sank. I spent the last couple of months trying to get this woman to like me, but it felt like nothing was working. I told her that I wasn't going to leave her son, and that I would treat her son way better than her friend's daughter could. She laughed while she continued going back to work and told me that her son makes more than me, and that her friend's daughter could triple both of our incomes combined. I looked at her and asked her how she would know if her son was making more than me. She told me that it doesn't take a genius to tell that a lawyer will make more than a real estate agent. I didn't want to argue with her anymore, so I told her that I had to go and pretended that I had somewhere to go that day. I ended up contacting the owner and tried acquiring the house. The owner wasn't interested in selling their house at first, but everything always has a price when it's right. The owner was a hard person to negotiate with, and I'm sure I lost the deal, but I honestly didn't care much. Throughout the past 3-4 months, I've had to deal with paperwork, inspection, and the whole process of buying the house. I stopped visiting my in-laws and stayed in contact with my mother-in-law. I would usually call her and check up on her, and she would always tell me to come visit. She asked me if my father-in-law was the reason why I stopped coming, and I laughed and told her that I was just working more. During this time, my father-in-law has tried hinting to my husband about his friend's daughter, and my husband always shut down the idea and always told him that he's married and to respect that. You can now check if there's a part 2 by pressing share and more. Part 2. My mother-in-law thought I was poor until I bought her dream house. My husband also knew about the house. He almost yelled at me for buying a house without talking to him, but I said it was an investment that I planned to rent out in the future. Finally, the moment arrived when I got the keys to the house and was finally the owner. During this time, my mother-in-law's birthday was approaching, and I told her that the best way to celebrate her day was to have the party at the new house. I told her that we should have a nice dinner together, and she happily agreed. We ended up picking up my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and I greeted them happily. Of course, my mother-in-law was cold to me, but that didn't bother me. While we were driving, we turned onto the street she had mentioned when we were in her driveway. Her eyes started searching for the dream house, and her expression changed even more when she saw me pulling into the driveway. She asked what we were doing there, and I said we were arriving at my house. She looked at me, speechless, and we went inside, where I could see she was in love with the place. She checked every part of the house, the bedrooms, the garage, the bathrooms. She seemed enchanted by everything. I told her that wasn't her gift, but I had bought a bottle of wine for her. Her smile disappeared, and she asked me why I bought the house. I said I just wanted to show her that I could buy any house I wanted because I had money. Something she had insinuated that I didn't have. She was speechless, especially since the idea of the house being hers simply vanished. I guess you could say I destroyed the old woman's dream. But I knew this was my way of gaining her acceptance, and if I wanted to stay with my husband, it was something I had to do. I told her I was joking and gave her the keys. I said I had paid for everything, and she started to smile. She took the keys and hugged me tightly. I wonder if I made the right choice because I know she only accepted me because of my money. Obviously, that doesn't bother me, because I would trade that for her to accept my relationship with her son. It just makes me think that reality would be completely different.